Aloha, everyone. This is Chesapeake Movie Thoughts. And, this weekend, we were supposed to have the movie meetup to see Mary Poppins Returns. Those people that had confirmed to me that they were going to come, all of them individually just had different things come up at the last minute. So I didn't have anyone confirmed to come, and there was the threat of bad weather. The meetup was canceled, but I still was able to get out to see the movie, just on my own, yesterday. So I do have Mary Poppins Returns to talk about today. And a little background I'll give you about Mary Poppins Returns. When I first heard that Disney was doing a new Mary Poppins movie, my first thought was, it's a terrible idea. The original Mary Poppins is a timeless classic. It's from a bygone era. Disney would never be able to come anywhere close to matching the magic, the lightning in a bottle that they caught with the original Mary Poppins. It just would not live up to it. But then, as more news started to come out about it, and we started to learn more about it, it seemed like a lot of things were falling into place just the right way for Mary Poppins Returns. So I got to be a little bit more optimistic about it. I got to think, okay, well, this may, it won't live up to the original, but, it may still be a decent film. So I finally go to see the movie yesterday, and wow, I was wrong. That was amazing. It was Mary Poppins. They did it. I didn't think they could. They did it. They brought Mary Poppins back. They brought back, like, Silver Age Disney. I actually had kind of an emotional experience in the theater, to tell you the truth, because I saw some hard to describe quality that you see in movies of the past, from Disney's Silver Age. A quality that I love, but it seemed lost to time, and it was there. They had done it again. They had revived it. They had brought it back, and I was that it was something I loved that I thought was dead, and it was back. So yeah, I loved the movie. I gotta say, I loved the movie. It was practically perfect in every way, if you'll pardon the expression. A lot of the Disney movies that have been coming out lately, they have been going back to the well for a lot of things, and a lot of, like, the live action remakes, things like that. Now, this is a sequel, not a remake, but so yeah, it's not in the same category, so to speak, but it is still going back to the well. So going back to an old popular property that they have. But a lot of times it seems like those live action remakes and those the going back and reviving those old properties have been kind of geared towards just making it modern, which is, to me, is kind of foolish to begin with, because these are timeless movies, and you're making a modern version of it, it will eventually become a dated version of it. But they're trying to appeal to modern audiences with a film that, with a new version of a film that was kind of timeless anyway. But Mary Poppins Returns had that timeless charm, that the joy, the innocence, the sensitivity. It just had this timelessness to it. It had hand-drawn 2D Disney animation, much like you would you remember from the original. There was a segment where they were in an animated world, and it combined live action with animation. They do something similar here, and it's Disney quality hand-drawn 2D animation on the big screen, and Disney animation, it all has its style of its own, but as it's evolved over the years, there's been subtle changes. This looks like, in the subtle ways, this calls back to the animation of that era from, like, the 60s. Disney animation. So Disney style is kind of Disney style, but the subtle changes they were able to recognize and bring back the subtleties of that era's animation, which is what they did with this entire film. I thought the music would be a weak point. They were no way they were going to get songs that could even hold a candle to the original. And while it's hard to say whether they're on the same level as the original, because the original has so many years of being played, over and over again. People watching the movie over and over again and being used in Disney parks and Disney commercials and things like that. So they're ingrained in our memory, the songs in the original Mary Poppins. These ones, though, they sound like Sherman Brothers songs. The Sherman Brothers, the composers that wrote those songs. It sounds like them, and it sounds like them on a good day too. I mean, it doesn't sound like their off day work. It sounds like some of their good work. So I mean, I thought to myself before going in, the only way this music has any chance of being good is if the composers were doing their absolute best to channel the spirit of the Sherman Brothers, and they did. They did. Everyone. The new Emily Blunt playing Mary Poppins is Mary Poppins. I don't see Emily Blunt. I see Mary Poppins on the screen. And you could criticize the movie, I suppose, for being a rehash of the original, because it parallels the original very strongly. It has like just about every scene in the movie, every segment is like you can tell it's very much inspired by the corresponding segment in the original film. That there are direct, deliberate parallels, and there's characters that have direct, deliberate parallels, songs that have direct, deliberate parallels to the original. Though when I came out of the movie, I realized they had to do that this time. I mean, if they want to do more Mary Poppins movies in the future, then maybe they could do it differently. It's kind of like with the Force Awakens, Star Wars: The Force Awakens. As after the prequel movies, which had a very different feel to it than classic Star Wars, the new movie had to prove that it could do classic Star Wars. It could bring classic Star Wars back to the screen. And so the Force Awakens copies very heavily, parallels very heavily the original Star Wars: A New Hope. And people loved it for it, because they recognized that, yeah, this is what we needed. We needed this proof of concept, basically, that in the modern age you could do a classic Star Wars movie. Mary Poppins Returns, I felt, was the same way. It felt like there had not been any other Mary Poppins films. No one thought you could touch Mary Poppins and get anywhere close. And I didn't think about it, think it was possible until I actually saw it. But they did it. It is technically a sequel, but it just follows the same beats as the original, directly paralleling them. But again, I think they had to do it that way. They had to do it that way. Again, it's like a proof of concept to show that it could be done. Because I didn't think it could, but they did it. They brought something to the screen that I didn't think they could. And it's definitely, it's uplifting. It's wholesome. It's an incredibly good family film. It's an incredibly good film just to lift you up, just to lift your spirits. There is the last musical number in there, which I'm not going to spoil. It's the direct parallel to Let's Go Fly a Kite. I don't think that's spoiling too much. So it's because, like I said, the movie is directly paralleling the original. But there is just some sense of just joy and just wonder that they bring to that right at the end there that really just gets you. This is a fantastic movie. I highly recommend it. I really do. I just can't. I just like I said. I thought this movie was something that just couldn't be done, and they did it, and I am so impressed. I am incredibly impressed. with it, because it feels you couldn't tell watching this. Maybe if you analyzed like the visual effects, but me, I was like engrossed in what was going on. I wasn't thinking about the visual effects. But maybe there are times where those visual effects might give it away that it is a modern film, but otherwise you really couldn't tell. You wouldn't have any idea when this movie was made. It could have been made right after Mary Poppins. You wouldn't, just a few years later, or it could have been made any time in the decades in between. You really couldn't tell because they were able to bring that timelessness to it. Disney used to be really good at this timelessness, bringing this timelessness, and I thought that that had kind of just like slowly faded away, and everything just had to be modern. It had to be the new take on it. This isn't the new take. This isn't this generation's version of Mary Poppins. It's just Mary Poppins. It's just another Mary Poppins movie with just what you remember from the original, and they just did it again. And after so many years, after decades, I think that's what they needed to do, and it got me right here. So, yeah, I highly recommend it. Mary Poppins Returns, yeah. It is definitely one to see. So, like, comment, subscribe, and that's a wrap.